It is National Sewing Month, and I mentioned I was going to make some video tutorials on sewing. It takes me a while to get some fabric and patterns from the States, so it is a little closer to the end of the month, but I wanted to show you, I'm going to try in this video a new pattern company that I haven't tried before. They're not new, but it's just an independent pattern company. I think they pronounce it Jaylee. And the cool thing about this pattern company is that you get one pattern, but it's good for a variety of sizes. So I can make a shirt for my 2-year-old, my 11-year-old, and myself. There's 2 varieties of the shirt, and they have a couple of different sleeve varieties, so it's not exactly the same shirt. So it's a good basic pattern to start with. I am going to try to make some of these and take you along the process. Alright, so I have the pattern here, and I found out for a toddler size 2, we're going to cut out the pattern line F. So what we do is we open up the pattern, and you'll notice that there is a lot of lines. Okay, F is the first one because it's the smallest it goes. Instead of actually cutting out the fabric, what I did was I traced it out of paper and I cut it out that way. Because I want to reuse this pattern for multiple sizes, I don't want to cut the actual pattern. So I have taken the liberty of cutting out just toddler size 2, and I have lined it all up in my fabric. This is a lilac double knit. And I'm going to cut it out, and we are going to start assembling it when I'm done. Okay, now I have the pattern cut out. I have the front, the back, the neckband, and the hemband, and 2 sleeves. I went ahead and extended the sleeves to a full-length sleeve as opposed to the 3/4 sleeve that the pattern had called for. The first thing we're going to handle is the neckline. Okay, so I decided that I was going to go for the neckline of the tan shirt in the middle. In order to accomplish this, I need to take the front part of the pattern and I need to cut off this portion. There are 2 notches right here and there that I'm going to do a gather stitch between to get that look. Okay, before we get started, I wanted to let you know I am using a stretch needle. The type of needle you use is kind of important. The way you can tell it's a stretch needle is you can hardly see it, but there's a little bit of yellow on the needle right there. As opposed, I have a denim needle right here, and you can see there's a touch of blue. Now, if there's no color spot there, then it's a universal needle. And those are good if you're working with cottons or anything that doesn't require a very specific needle. But we are in fact using a stretch fabric, so we do need a stretch needle. Otherwise our needle will keep breaking, and also the seam won't be as good. Fortunately for me, my sewing machine has a gathering foot. So in order to make this gather, all I have to do is hold on to the fabric in the back and just let the sewing machine go. And it will do all the work for me. Alright, so this is my finished gather stitch. If you do not have a gathering stitch or a gathering foot on your sewing machine, what I just do is usually use a needle and thread. I use some white thread here so you can see the results. And then you could just pull the thread to however gathered you want it. And then you can tie it off. That will give you the same effect without the fancy machine. Okay, I went ahead and took the liberty of sewing the shoulder seams and the side seams together. These are just a straight stitch, although my sewing machine has a knit stitch. It's a really tight zigzag stitch, so basically when it stretches, the seam still holds. Next we're going to work on the sleeves. Okay, now I'm actually sewing the sleeve on. And I wanted to tell you, what you do is you stretch the armhole over the sewing machine, alright, and then you lay the sleeve on top, And then as you sew, the sewing machine pulls the arm sleeve. There will always be fabric here because of the way the sewing machine works. So all you have to do is make sure that the top lines up with the fabric here. The shape is a little funny because it curves a lot, but as long as you twist and turn this just so that this lines up with the stitches that are going to be in place, you should be fine. Alright, now that we have the armhole sewn all the way around, we're going to turn the shirt completely inside out. This will allow us to sew on the seam for the long part of the arm. As you can see, I have sewn up the arm completely. Now we are going to hem the cuff and repeat the same on the opposite side, so we have two sleeves. Admittedly, sewing the hem on a small 2-year-old size shirt was a little more challenging than I'd wished, so I'm going to start off by hemming the cuff of the shirt first for the next sleeve. Since I pre-hemmed the sleeve, I made a small stitch right here so that when I unfold it, the sleeves will all be the same length. That way, you know, it's not wonky at the seam here. But I do like to start at the top of the sleeve, that way the armpit seam looks nice too. Given that this is a knit fabric, if there's any discretions in the fabric, which there isn't, and there shouldn't be if you cut it properly, then it will show up on the underside of the sleeve here, and you can stretch the fabric so that it's not noticeable. But it's much more noticeable if your fabric doesn't line up at the cuff or in the joint seam underneath the arm. Next, we're going to work on the neckband. What we need to do for this is we're going to fold it over and sew it together that way, and then we're going to fold it down and do a zigzag stitch along the seam. So that way it's all perfectly folded in half in a ring. Alright, now I am sewing the loop with a zigzag stitch. I have it set, I have my needle set so that it is far to the right hand side and that it does a large zigzag stitch, because right now we're just holding it in place rather than securing it down. The same technique is going to be used to make the hem band as well, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on that now. And this is what the finished hem band looks like. It is, here we go. Alright, to sew on the neck and hem band, what we're going to do is we turn the shirt right side out. And then we are going to just take our ring of neckband or hem band, and then we're going to sew it towards the outside. Okay, so the seams are still going to be touching. And then we're going to turn it inside out so that way it looks nice. Now understand that this is a stretch fabric, and so the neckband is intended to be stretched as it goes around the neck. Alright, I have finished the neckband, and I'm going to do one last stitch, and that's to top stitch it so that it doesn't curl when I wash it or when she wears it. Alright, I finished the hem band the same way I did the neckline, and now we have a finished shirt. Now all we need to do is try it on for size. Alright, and here we have the shirt, and Misty trying to open a banana. I had to give her something to do in order to occupy her so I can get the picture. There you go, throw it in the trash. So there is the shirt. I would say that the fit was alright. Definitely not as good as if it was designed specifically for a 2-year-old. Say bye!
Bye!